Is it normal for sprinters to change coaches so frequently? I feel like this has only been a recent trend the past few years. I don't know if you've reflected on that, Leighton. I was asking myself the same question, but sometimes if you're not keeping track all the time, I don't know if it's an abnormal year. There's certainly a lot of movement happening, but yeah.
I think there's a lot more movement these days. I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about the past, I mean, Carl Lewis, Vera Burrell, they were with Thompson for their entire careers.
Yeah.
Both of them was with the Mills forever. Similarly, Johan after he left high school. I can't think of anybody in the past who changed coaches as often. So yeah, maybe you're onto something.
Yeah.
But what I think is happening now with a lot of these kids is there is this feeling of instant gratification. So you're going to a camp and you're there for a couple of years and you're not moving the way you think you should be. And they say, okay, I need to leave. I mean, that's not the only reason. I know people have left camps for other reasons, personal things between them and them coaches. I understand that part. But what I think a lot of athletes sometimes fear, especially the local ones, I should put it that way, is that the expectation of them is unrealistic and they fall into the trap of believing those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Wherein, you leave high school, for example, you come out of college and you find a camp and everybody expects you to run fast the following year. That's not how usually it works. I mean, I keep using this point. People forget that it took Usain 4 years to get to 2008.
Right.
And he's had a lot of trouble in between. I mean, he was in the final of 2005 and then had a hamstring injury in the 200-meter final. He came second to Tyson Gay in 2007 in Osaka. And then in 2008, he finally hit the stride that people expected him to hit. So I think, like, for example, Dina, Dina was with her coach in England. She went to Florell. She went back to England. And now she's back at Baylor.
Baylor, yeah. She went to Baylor, right? Yeah.
I don't know if she believes that a change in coach is somehow, because she didn't run badly this year. She won what, 10.9, she ran 10.93 this year or something like that. I remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what time. But we had the discussion before where after 2019, it's like almost like she hit a wall.
Yeah.
She won Euros, she won at Worlds, and then after the pandemic, it's like she just went down and she makes finals, but she's never a contender for a medal. I mean, even look at the 200 at Worlds.
Right.
She comes off the curve close to Melissa Jefferson and then just hits a wall the last 60 meters. I don't remember where she finished. So I don't know what her thinking is in terms of those moves, those three moves now. For people like Megan Tapper, remember she was at MVP.
Right.
And then she went to elite, won Olympic bronze, had her injury issues, and then of course moved to Love. I don't know. I haven't spoken to her about it, but I think that feels like something more personal to me. I'm not quite sure. I have no. But it could be that she's looking at, Meg is 31.
New contract.
New contract. She probably thinks that Lovey has Masai Russell and she has Devin Charlton. So she's probably looking at, as I said, I suggested this before, I'm going to say this again, where she's looking at where both of those women are. One is the world record holder in the 60-meter hurdles. The other one has been the fastest one in the world for the last year, 12.17 and 12.19. So Meg figures that probably Lovey is the best person to get the best out of her across all the phases of her race. Because Meg's first 5 hurdles have improved a lot. but maybe she feels she can even be better and then finish even stronger. And maybe love is the person she believes can do that for her. But for some of the other athletes, I just think they're bouncing around looking for a sweet spot that they'll never find because I don't think they're committed enough to the work. Because one of the things that I find, and it's something that I've spoken about before, is that you sign a professional contract. A lot of these kids sign professional contracts, and they, instead of using the money to invest it or to pay for the best of what they need in terms of coaching, in terms of physiotherapists, in terms of all the different things that they need, nutrition and stuff like that. They spend the money on floss out all over the place. I don't know if people still use that term, so forgive me, I'm aged.
Right.
It's aging the term. But, they spend the money doing okay, and they lost focus. I've always felt that when you give a youngster too much money too soon, they lose the hunger that usually drives to success. And and then eventually they don't deliver because it falls on them and the people who they surround themselves with. Yes, people who want to appease them to get maybe some of the action and not telling them the right things that they need to be telling them. So they lean back on them, get back on them. Oh, I'm going to party tonight, I'm going to party tomorrow. Come at training and you're tired. You drink a whole bunch of alcohol, your body's dehydrated, you get injured. You're not focused. As my wife likes to say, focus. So a lot of it, I think, is that lack of focus that you see a lot of these movements happening. But for specific instances, I think it's more athletes looking to find that right fit for them. Because sometimes the first coach that you're thinking of is not necessarily the right fit for you. What works for one athlete doesn't necessarily work for another. We've seen over the years go to MVP because they hear that Stephen Francis is the best coach. But how many of them actually succeed? A lot of them are just fallen by the wayside that we don't talk about because it's not in our best to talk about them. But so not everybody's going to make it. So it's about because when Meg left MVP, people thought she was going to fade away, and she goes to elite performance and she runs, her best times and wins an Olympic bronze medal. So it all depends on whether or not you find the right coach. And a lot of these kids these days, they're not focused enough for one, and two, sometimes the coach that they think is a good fit for them is not the right fit for them. Take Alana Reid, for example. Alana Reid goes
I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah.
She goes to Star Athletics, didn't work out. She goes on to Arkansas, didn't work out.
Where is she going now? Because she's leaving. She was with Lawrence Johnson, right? She's leaving.
Yeah,
him,
she left there. I hear she is back with Corey Bennett. My information is that she probably wanted to go to Shaniki Osborne. But knowing Shaniki, if you're not coming to her camp to be focused, she's not going to take you there. So maybe, and based on what we're hearing, and of course, this is just me hearing things,
right,
that she probably wasn't as focused as she needs to be. So, and because look, the coaches that she's been to are good coaches. You've seen them find success with other athletes. So, she's been to two of them, and boom, so.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think I always like to say athletes should, they can explore it because of relationship. So sometimes your coaching style or teaching methods don't fit your personality. And you try, but if you consistently move from one to the next and you have no success, sometimes you have to look in the mirror in a deep way, right? To realize that maybe it's not necessarily the setup, it might be you, Yeah, I'm not saying this in the case of Alana, but just in general,
Yeah. I said, sure, you had put it up a while ago.
Let's get back to that because I want to touch on after that. I'll just ask you a few athletes who have moved around too. He was saying, building on that question, how do you explain so many leaving elite track club, and how is it no one ever speaks out on why they're leaving? Because divorce are messy. But go ahead, Leighton.
Look, a couple of things. Again, this is just me speculating based on the observations. Except for Shelley and Megan and Rochelle Clayton. there has been among the other athletes, there's not been very much success. Huh? Kemba Nelson left from Oregon and came back to elite, and she hasn't run as fast as she went when she was at Oregon.
Right.
She's been barely able to make a Jamaica team since she's been at elite. Um, so that's one thing. So some of the athletes I think probably, I mean, Karika Hill is similar. She won her second World Under 20 title, but she hasn't run as much since she joined the elite. I mean, she runs sparingly. Maybe if she runs 2 or 3 races a year, that's a lot. The other thing that is even more glaring is the number of injuries that have been occurring at elite performance. Julian Fort, Rochelle Clayton, Kimber Nelson. There have been a lot of injury issues. So I don't know whether or not that's a factor with the athletes. So I'm thinking maybe they need to try a new system or a new coaching methodology to stay healthy. Because we saw Rashid Broadbell go there and then he left and went back to MVP. We saw, I was her name, Stacey left elite. That was a that was a personal. Yeah, I won't get into the details, but that was a personal issue between she and another athlete at the club. And my information is, but yeah. So I think it's probably because a lot of athletes probably went to elite and expected to make progress, and they haven't. And for some of them, is the raft of injuries that they've experienced while there. So maybe they don't think that setup is working for them. So I think that's a combination of reasons why people have left elite performance.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, and people just don't talk about these things afterwards. At least they don't publicly.
Yeah,
Sometimes leaving is not the right. You never want to air your dirty laundry in
and that's
public.
what they're because look,
Yeah,
um, what I just said a while ago is based on what I see. The
right.
athletes who left might have left for completely different reasons. So.